we're going to be talking about the '08, as you guys
Eh,
already saw from the thumbnail and from the title. We're going to talk about some data, actually. We're going to be going over how the inventory was like during that time, how long it took for a home to actually sell, what the prices were, when it actually dropped, how much did it drop. We're going to learn about all of that because I think, Lisa, when we learn from all of that, we're kind of going to be able to figure out if that's going to happen in this market, right? Because right now,
right.
prices are super high.
Yep.
Prices
Yep.
are super high, and everybody I talk to, some of them are either saying, I'm going to buy because I need to buy, or some of them are saying, I'm going to wait till the crash because we're too high. It's going to crash. So we're
Right.
going to find out, right? For me personally, you already hear me say there's plenty of time. I don't think it's going to crash this year or correct itself. I think if anything, maybe next year we'll start seeing signs, but right now I don't see that. So there's actually an article I wanted to also talk about. So, but before we do that, let's kind of do like a market update for this past week, so that um, everybody will see what's going on here in Sacramento as far as inventory and everything goes. All right, so let me share the screen. There it is. All right. So let's see how this past week did. Homes for sale. Inventory went up a little bit, like 1%. Man, we got like a decrease of new listings, Lisa, like almost 20%.
Geez
Almost
Louise. So
20%.
less homes are going on the market.
Less homes just this past week.
Hmm.
Less homes sold, like almost 16%.
Okay.
Oh man. Okay. Let's go to days on the market. Man, average days on the market went down just this past week. Like like one day. Now it's like average 10 days. What do you think? What do you think's causing homes to go so fast? Like in a transaction. I mean, because loan normally takes like FHA, so it takes like 30 days, right? 21 to 30 days. So
Yep.
how is it that the average homes that sold this past week was 10 days? Is it because it's cash, conventional, people putting more than 20% down?
Well, I'm gonna say based on just the transactions that I've been doing, because equity is built so well, there's quite a lot of people who are just cashing out and buying their home in cash. They're putting more loan on their current existing home and they are buying it in cash. And there's a lot of situations where people are utilizing more private lending. It's coming back a little bit more, and people are utilizing that and then just refinancing out later because they're thinking cash is king and that they will have a better chance of winning the offer because of that.
Damn, this is crazy.
Yeah.
10 days. That's a cash deal. That's so crazy.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then let's look at the average sale price. So, see, this past week, people put their
Yep.
homes on the market like almost a percent lower than last week. But
Right.
the sold price, that's the most important number y'all need to remember is,
Right.
look, on average, it went up 2%.
Yeah. And
On average.
that's the other thing too. We have a lot of Bay Area people. I don't know how many, how we can stress this more because when we're talking about somebody cashing out, a lot of you might be thinking, it's like, well, if the average home in Elk Grove is selling for 619, as Chia mentioned last week, then how the heck are they cashing out 619? Oh, that's very, very doable if you own a home in the Bay Area, and many people are doing that.
That is true because these people in the Bay Area got equity. And if they get access
Mm-hmm.
to their equity, that's basically liquid cash that they
Mm-hmm.
have access to. Okay, so you guys got to remember, Chi fans, liquid cash is what's causing this to be 10 days on average.
Right. Not
Meaning,
only.
meaning that the moment it hits the market, it starts a clock. So that means average days on the market combined is 10 days. I mean, it closed. Buyers got the keys. That's
Right.
what this means, okay, guys? But yeah. What was you gonna say, Lisa?
Well, I was just gonna say too, is like with people who would have primary residence, even for myself, I purchased in 2011 for a house that's almost 3,500 square feet. I bought it for almost 306. Okay.
Hmm.
And right now it's worth almost about 850. I get to cash that out and buy my next investment home. And it's kind of crazy
Exactly.
because I'm looking at the need. The other need is the reason why people are still going to buy is because the rental market is kind of wonky too. There's
Hmm.
a lot of my property manager friends who are saying, it was like, Lisa, we always put you on the VIP for your people, but we got like 200 people plus
Yeah.
out right now, and I have three property managers that I work with that I send business to. Is like, so that got me actually kind of thinking. I'm actually thinking of cashing out to purchase my next home as well. And that next home is to be an Airbnb for people who are in transition from selling their home.
Hmm. No,
You
that's
know?
great, right? That is
Yep.
great because
So,
like we don't have any of those.
yeah.
We don't have
It's
enough.
Yeah, that's why I was like, okay, I found a house that has a pool and it's pretty decent price and everything like that. And that's the thing too with people who have primary residences, the loans for the primary residence is less expensive than for investment property. So strategically, when I'm planning things out for people, I'm showing them, I was like, okay, if you put the bigger loan on your primary residence and you're just paying this off, one, you're cash flowing on your investment property. And when you're doing the math and everything like that, it actually makes more financial sense. Not
Right.
all the time, guys, okay?
Of
Not all the
course.
times. It really does depend on your situation,
That's
but you
why you
really want to
budget.
sit down. Yeah, you really want to sit down and look at your overall picture of what's going on in your life now, what's going to be going on in the next 5 years, 10 years, and what is your exit strategy to build that wealth when you do retire.
That is correct. Always budget and talk to a person like Lisa. Okay, so that was the weekly market update in Sac County. Now for all the good stuff, okay, that you guys are tuning in for. 06, 07, 08. Let's look at those
Ooh, this is
data.
fun.
I'm just gonna share it with you guys so that way you guys see exactly what I'm doing here. This is the same data from earlier, but we're just gonna change the dates. Okay, so we're gonna make it begin. Oops, look at that. We're gonna begin 2006. We're gonna have to go year by year, y'all. So bear with me, but just try to focus, okay? So this is 2006 that it's gonna go on to. Let's look right here. Oh no, actually, we need to look at the days on the market. All right, so 2006. Man, look at that. Okay, what I'm really interested in knowing is the days on the market. So average days on the market. Look, 100 or 90 to 100 days. Remember
Mm-hmm.
how earlier when I was doing the weekly, it was 10 days?
Mm-hmm.
Look right here, 100 days.
This is so important for you guys to know. And the reason
Yeah.
being from the lending point of view, okay, guys? Earlier, when she was talking about 10 days versus 91 to 102, on a normal market, the houses will sit for about 2 to 3 months. So this is actually almost normal. But the reason why this is important is because most people don't consider the crash until 2008. But if you really truly look at the data, it's because there was such an influx of inventory at that time.
Oh yeah, I
Most
haven't even got to
people,
the inventory yet.
yeah, people weren't noticing that just yet. So that's
Yep.
why this is going to come into play later on. I'm excited to see this. I'm so excited that you're sharing this,
Maybe you could take some notes so that way we could reflect back on this. How about that?
right?
Okay, you know what? Okay, so
Screenshot
this
it.
is yeah, I'm gonna screenshot this real quick. So give me a second. I'm gonna screenshot this real quick so that way we could come back and talk about it later. Oh six. Okay, so this is 2006, right? This is just days on the market. Now, if we go to sold price, average sold price was around 400K, 430, around there.
Mm-hmm.
You see
So
that?
hasn't peaked yet.
No, it has not even peaked
That's
yet.
important to know. That's important to know.
Yeah, it has not peaked yet. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
395 active sold price around there. Okay, now months of inventory. This is good to know. Look at that. 7 to 8 month worth of inventory, Lisa, in '06.
How much?
Huh?
But wait, how much again?
7 to 8 month worth of
Mm.
inventory. And today it's only like point 0.4, not even 1 month.
Hmm.
So big difference right there. So this
But
is a lot of inventory.
see, that's the thing. The writing was always on the wall. People
Mm,
just didn't see it.
Yep. Look at
Mm-hmm.
this. Look at
Mm-hmm.
this. Okay, so this is '06. This is '06, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to '07. Let's go to '07. Man, these numbers are crazy.
Right? See, that's the thing.
Yeah.
So sometimes people get super intimidated by the numbers, but I've learned to really love numbers because it's unemotional, it's unattached, and it's just data. It's data
Mm-hmm.
collected to give you kind of like that crystal ball that everybody's looking at to see, okay, based on this data, how do you correlate to today's market? Which I know you're going to go into later, but I'm so excited that I just wanted to put it out there.
Yeah. Before I move on to '07, there's a comment. Irv Green says, in your opinion, is a condo with HOAs better option for first time home buyer? Good question. It really depends on your lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
I like, for example, okay, if you're single, sure, it's great. Condos are great because HOAs cover maintenance on the exterior of the home, the outside. All you gotta do is just go home, eat, sleep, go to work, and repeat. Less headache. That's that way. But if you're a family person, you got 2 kids, looking to grow your family, condo might not be the way to go as a first time home because those kids might want a yard. The parent might want to like garden. Condos don't have anything like that. And condos have a lot of restrictions too because some condos don't even allow you to rent it out because the tenant to owner occupant ratio is just way too high. So they won't allow you to rent it out if you're an investor. So everybody's situation is different, Irv Green. So I would say talk to a real estate professional about your situation personally and find out what your needs are, find out what your goals are, and then figure out whether or not a condo is right for you. I mean, if you are part of a couple, you and your spouse are alone, no kids, you guys are just looking to retire, condo is great. Actually, I'm helping a client right now. They're retiring and they are most likely probably gonna sell or get rent out their home, their 4 bedroom home, and live in a condo because they want to travel. They want to come home and just eat, sleep, breathe, repeat, and go back and travel. Condo is great for that. As a matter of fact, me and my wife plan on buying a condo one day just to do that. So is it a good option for first time home? It really depends on everybody's situation. Hope that helps. You're welcome, Evergreen. Okay, let's go back to the data. Let's go back to the data. Okay, so this is 2007, Chichi fans. Look at the inventory. 11 to 12 months, Lisa.
Woo! So the plot thickens in
See, so
this
look at this. Oh
market.
07. During this, if this was the problem we're having today, Lisa, every buyer will be able to find a home like that. You know why? They could pick and choose.
Right.
And a seller would have to be competing for a buyer's to choose their home over the other
See,
competitor.
the problem is that didn't happen at that time, though.
I
People were
know it
still
did
buying
not.
like hotcakes. So the
Hmm.
illusion was the same as what it is right now. So that's why everybody has that fear of that it's crashing because the illusion is very, very similar, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I know. And so this is crazy, Leo. Man, what if we had this supply of inventory right now, Lisa? All our buyers right now would be good to go, right?
So, right, we can definitely do that. And that's the thing. If your realtor is not data centric and looking at this for you to say, okay, is it a good time for you to jump in? Remember, good time or bad time, the market is what the market is. Whether or not
Hmm.
it's a good time for you to buy is a totally different story. So it doesn't always correlate, guys.
Right. So let's go to the sold homes, okay?
Okay. Oh,
Look at you see this chart? See how it's going down?
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh seven. This is oh 07, okay?
So '07
Look,
was already starting to go down.
yeah, look, the average sold price was $312,000.
Wow.
That is crazy. Wow. That chart is really good to know. This is just oh 07. This is not even oh 08 yet, okay? So days on the market. Let's go to days on
But
the
look
market.
at that. Look at how quickly it turned in just one
I
year, though.
know. I
And
know.
again, people didn't really consider that the crash yet, though. That's the important thing
Mm-mm.
that people, you as the public, gotta know is that that wasn't even considered the crash yet, and yet it
Yeah.
was already the writing was more than relevant. The data was there to already show proof that the market was crashing.
Hmm. Look, it's going down. So let's look at days on the market. See, look, 100 days on average. This is crazy. This means that that's this is why if you guys watch some of my other videos from the channel archives, you guys always hear me say the reason I don't believe a crash or a correction is coming anytime soon is because sellers are leveraging right now off the market. There's no
Mm-hmm.
inventory and homes are being sold in 10 days. We just
Mm-hmm.
looked at the weekly data,
Mm-hmm.
right, Lisa? Homes
Mm-hmm.
are being sold on average 10 days. And look, oh 07, homes were being sold on average 109 days.
Well, that's the
So,
that's the whole supply and demand thing. This is how
mhm,
you actually visually see the supply and demand happening.
mhm. And so here's what happens when it gets this long for a seller to sell their home. They reduce their price. And that's
Mhm.
why you start seeing this. That's why you start
Mhm.
seeing the chart go
Mhm.
down because sellers are thinking, man, it's been a month. I haven't received an offer yet. Maybe my home is too high. Let's reduce it 5,000. Same thing. Let's reduce it again. They keep reducing it until it gets to like close to 100 days. And then boom, a buyer comes in and snatches it up. And then it's already been recorded that it was on the market for over 100 days.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's how these data are being calculated. And look, this is so cool right here. So sold slash original listing price. This is how the percentage of sellers getting what they listed their home for. So if they listed it for 100,000, are they getting 100,000? This is saying 89% of sellers got what they listed the home for during '07. 89%. Today, it's like 110% of sellers are getting what they're asking for. So remember that, okay?
That data is very important.
Okay, let's go over to oh 08. Let's go to oh 08. This is crazy. Days on the market. Oh man, look, days on the market started going faster now. So now it's on average 70 days. Still a lot.
Still a lot.
70 days. 70 days on average for a home to sell during '07. Okay, so let's figure out why. Why is that?
So what I'm guessing, because I was there, I started in 2007 in this industry, is that when home prices start to go down, then people are starting to
So
get
many people
interested again.
in buying. I knew
Yeah,
people that bought multiple homes during that time.
yeah,
And that's what happened. That's what triggered this.
yeah.
That's why it went down from 109 days on average to 70 days on average in '08. Because this is '08 now, okay? And because look,
Mm-hmm.
prices, active sold price was 198,000. It got cut in half from 317.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. Look at the chart. Look how it's going down.
Jeez, jeez. Man, who wishes they could buy a house for 200,000 right now in
On
Sacramento?
average, this is Sac County.
Mm-hmm.
On average, a home
Mm-hmm.
was sold at barely 200K.
Right. Guys, this is so important because a lot of times, I mean, I came from the Bay Area and my parents bought their house in the late 80s for $108,000. That house is worth $1.5 million right now. And I know a lot of times when you're seeing these things, it's like, dang, I wish I shoulda, coulda, woulda. Don't wait or don't waste another 10 years saying the same thing, and take a look at this data and take a look at your situation and really analyze your situation to see whether or not it's more cost effective for you to buy or to rent.
I heard this saying, Lisa. It was for real estate, you don't wait to buy. You buy and then you wait.
Mhm. Mhm. That's absolutely true. That's a great saying.
That's a good saying,
Yes.
right?
That's an absolutely great saying.
Yeah. Okay, so before we go to the months of inventory for 2008, let's answer some comments. Pros and cons says he remembers during '08 too.
Yeah. That's when you start
Uh
seeing all those foreclosure signs. You look down the street, all those signs were all
every
there.
other home. Every other
Exactly.
home had a
Mhm.
listing sign up.
Mhm.
Yep.
Mhm. Everybody's trying to get out.
Mhm.
So let me
Uh
interject just a little bit with what happened during the lending. Lending guidelines were totally different. The reason why they're put in place since then was to eliminate a lot of this stuff. I mean, people were doing, it wasn't technically a stated income loan, but now when people are doing loans with me and they're saying, well, I never had to do this before, I was like, well, that's exactly what happened. Before, you could say to somebody, I was like, well, I worked at X, Y, and Z. In fact, we actually when I first started, I worked in kind of like a call center environment, and we had just hired a couple people from a very big company at that time, and those guys came in and asked us, well, where's your blue lights? And I was like, what the heck do you
blue
need blue
light.
lights for? Yeah, what the heck do you need blue lights for? So they would share with us that their current company, which by the way went belly up, was one of the first to go belly up, and they were sharing how I was like, oh yeah, that's how you can change W-2s. I was like, wait, what? What now?
Huh?
Yeah, what now? And they were sharing, it's like, yeah, if a person didn't make enough income and everything like that, they would change the W-2 to make it look like
What?
they qualify. So there was a lot of fraud. I mean, a lot of fraud happening. So when your
What?
lender asks you for this, is the reason why we need a 4506T right now. Yeah, it was crazy when I heard that. I was like, it sounded crazy even for me, and I was a newbie at that time. So a lot of that happens right now. I would like to think a lot of that has been eliminated, but we as lenders, we also get quarterly reports to see lenders that aren't complying and lenders that are still doing certain things like that. They may not have a
Really?
blue light, they may have something else and everything like that. But again, that just puts people in a terrible position, because if you're, if you're doing that realistically, when we had that show that shows you, okay, even though you could do it, should you do it? And at the end of the day, if your take home income is going to be less than what your output is, what your mortgage is, what your gas is, what your food expense is, what your credit card expenses are, you're not really setting yourself up to succeed. And your lender should absolutely not promote that for you.
Hmm. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
What then during '07, '08, like the lending guideline was so loosened.
It was
Pe- people always said as long as you could breathe into a mirror, you got a loan.
As long as you have a social security number. I mean, before when we filled out applications, when I had to fill out an application when I started in 2007, all I needed was your address, your social, your date of birth, and your name. That's all I really, really
Mm.
needed. Everything else was just, okay, we'll just type in
And
whatever that makes sense.
what
That's
make
what
you
my
look good?
processors. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my
That was my
gosh.
processor's job. I didn't even have to do that. Now I do everything, which I'm okay with because it makes me understand your situation a lot better. So when I go and analyze, I'm not just looking at just this one transaction for you. I'm looking at the full picture again to say, okay, let's take a look at your budget analysis. Let's take a look at what your future needs are. If your kids are going to college, if you're helping them going to pay for a wedding anytime soon, or if you just have other expenses, other family members living with you that may need your financial assistance, and you want to make sure that you have a bit of a cushion for that.
Yep. Always budget. Always
Hmm.
talk to a local professional about your expenses and all that and what you need to do. But okay, so the next comment, Lola. This is for you, Lisa. Lola says, "Can two people buy a home together if they aren't married and be equal owners?"
Yes, totally. You can co-sign with anybody.
You don't have to be married. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing to consider, though, right? I always like to get down to reality where, especially, let's say if you're in a situation where it's boyfriend and girlfriend, do you, do you guys know that you guys are gonna be together forever, right? And one thing to consider personally is if you guys buy a home together as boyfriend or girlfriend, also that scenario, if y'all break up and things decide to go south for the both of y'all, that home is still under y'all deed. You guys are
Yeah.
gonna need to you guys are gonna need to figure out how you guys are gonna keep living in the home, who's going to do what, sell the home, all of that. So remember, okay, so that's something that me and Lisa talk to a lot of our clients about that plans on
Yeah.
buying a home with another partner that might not be a spouse. So those are things people don't consider, and but then those are things everybody should be considering when they are not legally married in a sense.
Well, it's really, really tough. I mean, let's not talk about just boyfriend and girlfriend. We're talking about brother and sister who buy a house together. You
That
know,
too. Oh
parent,
Lord.
parent and child.
Yeah.
If it does get really, really sticky. It is a conversation that you will have to have. It's a very uncomfortable conversation, I'm sure. But just to protect all of you guys, it's just something that has to be said out there. And when two people are on the house, you cannot sell it without the other person's consent either. And you
Mhm.
cannot refinance without the other person's consent. So everybody has complete, total, equal share, which is great because they can't do anything without you either. But that's definitely something that you have to consider.
Yep. If when in doubt, consult with a local expert.
Yeah.
They will give you the best scenario for your personal situation. Thanks for the comment, Lola. Irv Green says, "What if one person is a first-time home buyer and the other one isn't?"
So there are first time home buyer specific programs, but there are programs that will allow first time home buyers and one that isn't as well. That's pretty darn good. FHA allows for that. Conventional 5% allows for that. So take a look at the situation. If you really, really need that first time home buyer situation, maybe, having that person that isn't a first time home buyer is not the best idea. But if you need their income, maybe then we have to restructure it and take a look at a different scenario for you.
Yep. Remember, Irv Green, they look at both applicants. They
Hmm.
don't just look at one and favor one or the other. They look at
Correct.
both. And since we're talking about first-time home buyer status, correct me if I'm wrong, okay, Lisa? Every 3 years, you're considered a first-time home buyer again, right?
So if you haven't owned a home in three
Right, for
years, not
three
every
years.
3 years, right? But if you haven't ever owned a home in 3 years, most programs will qualify that as a first time home buyer. Not all. So there's a lot of down payment assistance that's very specific to neighborhoods, that's very specific to certain things. Like the last time when we were talking about the Biden possible assistance, they didn't allow, there was a program that didn't allow for you to even have to own a home ever, or your parents to have ever
Yeah.
owned a home too. So you have to work with somebody that knows all of the programs or the programs that are specific to you well.
Hmm. Yep. You're welcome, Evergreen. Hope that helps. Okay, let's go back to the data. I want to show you guys this too. Big change. 2008 months of inventory. Look how it went from 11 months to 3 months, Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
See that? And why is that?
So can we take a look at the average home prices then?
Average home price was here.
Yeah.
200K.
Yeah. So one of the details that people forget to, or people don't see, is that in a good market and a bad market, the numbers of people buying are actually quite similar. Okay. As Chia showed, the numbers are quite similar because when you're a savvy buyer, you always want to buy low, not high, right? Buy low, sell high, buy low, sell high. That's the same thing in stocks and in real estate. So if there's the same numbers, how come the market changes all the time? Depends on what type of buyer is buying. So what type of
Yeah.
buyer do you want to be?
See, during this time, Chi fam, a lot of investors were buying.
Yep.
That's why the months of inventory was got reduced from 11 month to barely over 3 month
Yep.
because it was starting to stabilize again. This is towards the end of '08 also, by the way. So in the middle of this, remember, a lot of banks got bailed out by the treasury.
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of these banks that got bailed out started implementing new programs, buying programs for minorities, first-time home buyers, etc. Right?
Yeah. And this is
Why?
when FHA loans started getting really super popular with the 3.5% down and the lower interest, I'm sorry, lower credit score, so that people can buy because they were so desperate to sell these homes that were like every other door was on a foreclosure.
Hmm. So this is what I wanted you guys to see. We already went through '06, '07, '08. '07 was when it started going way down.
Mm-hmm.
Started
Mm-hmm.
going, you started seeing the curve. But why did we show all of this to you guys? Because we want you guys to look at this data and compare it to today.
Mm-hmm.
Today the market looks totally different. The data looks totally different from this.
Yeah.
Homes on average are 400 to 500K on average, getting sold in 10 days. Months of inventory is not 3 months worth. It's zero point 0.4, not even a month worth. So that's what's driving the demand. That's what's driving the
Mm-hmm.
price. And on top of that, interest rates are super low. We've never
Correct.
been this low. So that's giving buyers even more incentives to why they want to buy, because they want to lock in that mortgage for 30 years.
Yep.
During this time, how much was interest rates? You would say, Lisa? Oh,
Because
eight.
I would say in 2007 to 2010, the average interest rate is probably about 5%. In 2006, I was trying to refinance my house, and it was like at 6.5%.
Mm,
Um, so at that time, that was a steal of a deal, you guys. Okay, so for all of you that are nervous out there or considering or on the fence of buying, I hope that this data really, really does help. And I'd like to see a little bit more too, Chia, on the 8, 9, and 10. The reason why is because it started picking up where this is a time where you can actually lowball the price too. If the house was selling for 300, you can actually get away with saying, well, I only want to do 280. Okay. That's what I did in 2011 for my house. The house I bought was actually a foreclosed property, and it was listed for 350. Then it went lower to 330. The buyer couldn't perform. So we were the backup buyers, and we said, well, we only want it for 306. And yeah, guess what, guys? I bought my house. It's almost 3,500 square feet in 2011 for 306. Chia?
Hello?
Hey,
Oh
we
man,
lost you for a moment there.
I know. What the heck is going on?
This time it's not my internet.
I don't know what happened, guys. Okay. All right. You know what? What was we talking about? We were talking about interest rates.
Yes, so the interest rate was much higher, much, much higher than it was then. And when it went down to 4.5%, somewhere in the '09 to '11 phase, that was, it started to get a little bit lower, but the average was still in the fours, low fives type of thing. Not definitely not the way that it is in the last 5 years recently. Um, and it's been pretty crazy. This market that we're in right now, I feel, is crazier than it was when it was in 2008, 9, and 10, and for obvious reasons. These numbers don't lie.
Sorry for laughing. So
Oh,
I'm just reading some of these comments. I wonder who pros cons is. He keeps saying I'm watching the Olympics.
oh,
I'm not watching the Olympics, I promise. But okay, so it wasn't. It was. I knew people during that time that had adjustable rate loans,
oh, yeah, that too, that
and
too.
because my mom had one, and her loan rate when
Yes.
this happened went to 11 or 12%.
Yeah, it's very, very crazy. Adjustable rate loans were very, very popular back then. We still have them now.
Mm-hmm,
We still have them now, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Before, adjustable rate mortgages were a difference between 3.5% versus 6.5%. So a lot of people were more privy to having the lower interest rate, knowing that, okay, well, I'll just refinance in 5, 10, 5 years, 3 years, whatever that adjustable time frame was, and not realizing that if the market goes up, it doesn't make financial for sense for them to refinance. Now they're stuck in a higher balance loan, and they kind of already did this thing where, okay, well, we budgeted so that our payment is only $2,000, but we didn't budget for our payment to be 2,500. We
mm-hmm.
absolutely didn't budget for our payment to be 2,800. And guess what? In those
Yeah.
times, during that time, even though this data shows that the average homes on the market were a lot longer, the writing was on the wall, but the market was falsely inflated. So, what does that mean? Okay. When it's falsely inflated like that, okay, um, people are trying to refinance, people are trying to do other things to come up with that as means. But what else goes up? Your property tax also goes up,
Mm-hmm,
your home insurance also goes up. So not only is your mortgage payment going up, all of the other stuff is going up, and it's going to catch up to you if your payments are 500, 600, 700, $1,000 of a difference. Back then, not only was there an adjustable mortgage, but there was also a negative arm loan. What are those? Perfect for flippers, and those types of loans were meant for that. In fact, in this market, it was a flipper's paradise. You know, everybody wanted to do that and turn a quick profit. And when that happens, and again, there's still the same number of people buying, it's just different type of buyers. And if you know how to do that, people who were able to retire in the real estate market was because of that market. So there's a lot of people waiting for it to crash. And when there's more people waiting for it to crash, to have that happen, to have the opportunity come back, the likelihood of that happening is very low. And the
Very
data
low.
proves that. The data proves that. The amount of homes on inventory right now proves that the demand is still significantly, not kind of, bless you,
Thank you.
not kind of, but significantly higher.
Yep, that is true, y'all. But let's read some comments. Okay, so best content says, really? I bought my first home in 2018, so I could buy a new one as a first time home buyer.
If you still
Oh,
own it, no. If you
yeah.
still own it, then no.
If you still own it, no. And then pros and cons says, I'm undecided if I should be a landlord or just sell. Any advice?
Are you currently a landlord now, pros? If you're a landlord now and you did your due diligence, most landlords require that your debt to income ratio be no more than 30%. So if you follow that rule and you also really look at whoever you're renting at, look at their income,
He's
look at
not a
the
landlord
assets.
right now.
Yeah, okay. So if you're not a landlord, okay, I would highly recommend if you do decide to do that, hire a property manager that already knows how to do this, and already knows how to do the eviction process if that were to happen. When anytime you're doing any type of investments, you want to look at the pros and cons. You also want to have a backup plan. You want to have, a few backup plans in the event that you have tenants that aren't paying you rent. What do you do? Do you have enough money to cover for at least 6 months, at least a year? What if they're tough tenants who are strongholding you? Is like, well, if you don't let me live here, I'm going to break your house. I'm going to do this to it. We just had a friend that had the exact same experience.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're looking at all of that, as long as you've done your due diligence in getting the right tenants into your home, you still should be fine. And anytime, if especially if you're first time landlord, I would really take a look at your numbers to say, okay, if I'm buying this house for X amount of dollars and I can rent it out for $2,000, but my mortgage is $2,000, you might want to reconsider buying that specific house or putting more down to alleviate that situation a little bit more for you. So let's just say, for instance, if your mortgage was $1,500 versus $2,000, and you're able to rent it out for $2,000, okay, and you're getting an additional $500. Well, that $500 is a savings that you can put aside if something breaks in the house or anything like that. You have a little bit of that cushion. Or if your tenants refuse to leave and they're not also paying you rent, because that's happening a lot during this COVID time, then at least you would have saved up enough money to say, okay, well, the eviction process is going to take this long, this is going to happen, and everything like that. At least I saved up enough so I'm not bleeding a whole lot. Does that make sense?
There you go. Pros, cons. Hopefully that helps. Thanks for the comment.
Yeah.
And Core What says sell. Right now is definitely a good time to sell. If you
Yeah.
are a homeowner, we need the inventory so that buyer demand could kind of stabilize. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, if you're thinking about selling, right now is the time to sell. Because we have come to a place where we're so high right now. You might want to consider selling, because if my projection for next year is true and the market does start correcting itself, you might miss your boat. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you're planning on getting the highest net as a seller, now's the time. Okay.
Right.
um I think he's watching the Olympics. No, I'm not. You guys are so funny. 3,500 square foot, that's a lot of house. That is a big house. Saxabe Encore. Don't know what that means. Okay. Chia was watching Sunny Lee. Oh yeah, I heard
Yeah.
about Sunny
Who
Lee. Man, that's
isn't?
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. But no, I was not watching her. No. Encore says falsely inflated homes out here in Washington State. Hmm. How's the market like over there right now?
Yeah.
I know it's high everywhere, but which is gonna bring me to my next topic, okay? But how's the market like in Washington right now, if you don't mind sharing? While we wait for that, I want to share my screen with y'all. So, look at that title, y'all. The housing boom is officially over. Home sales dropped to new low.
Where?
Um, where exactly? Somebody sent me this past weekend. I was like, are you in California? Are you in Sacramento? Because if you look at the market update that I just shared about this past week, homes went up on average 2%.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
Right? So what the heck is this? So you start to read it, right? The housing boom that fueled a unprecedented surge in home prices during the pandemic seems to have finally tapered off. Sales of newly built homes in June fell 6%
Uh,
below the.
uh
This represents a fall to an annualized rate of 676,000 below May's rate of 724,000 and a whopping
mm.
19% below June in 2020.
Well, that makes sense. That
Sure.
makes sense. Because it's new construction, guys. Okay?
Yeah.
People are not going to get duped into you anymore now that you have all of the information at your fingertip. Overall, regular homes are still going up, but new construction is going down because, again, the cost of lumber, the fact that they can't get people to close sooner, they can't get their people. I mean, I'm going to share one of my clients right now is buying a brand new build. We were actually supposed to close last month. We're still waiting for the finished landscape, and the builder is telling us, it's like they can't even get a hold of the people. They can't get a hold of the people to complete the project. So of course it's going to have to slow down. That actually makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay, so Ralph says, when was the date of that publication? It was actually in July 27th.
Mm-hmm.
Couple like last
2 days
just
ago.
2 days ago. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know, but then here's a issue I have with this, Lisa. People see this headline, but the people that share it or see it, they don't read it. They see the headline. They're like, oh, yay, the market's dropping. I'm going to go and become an investor now and buy 10, 20 properties. Read the article first. This is new built. And,
Yeah.
oh, man. I mean, I'm going to continue reading. The median home price for a new home rose 6% compared to the previous month's gain. This decline could mean that the inflated home price seen throughout the year are finally correcting. No, that is not true, y'all. Don't be fooled. Another media manipulation? Possibly.
Yep. Yeah.
Possibly.
Chi, I'm going to let you finish that. I actually forgot to bring my charger, so I'm going to go grab it and I'll be right back, guys.
Okay, no worries. I'll change myself out. Okay. Chief Investment Officer at the Bleakley Advisory Group, B. Peter, told CNBC that the moderation in home sale is likely a combination of sticker shock and a slowdown in the ability of builders to finish homes because of a variety of delays. Whether or not the market has been saturated with buyers will show itself in the next couple of months as we see if home prices bottom out or start to rise again. The sticker shock bookmore references, I'm butchering his name, y'all, sorry, references could be representative of a demand that endures but is reserved until prices come back down. The difference has considerable implication of real estate market. Should the buyer's market be saturated, that is everyone who needed a home bought one. That is everyone who needed a home bought one. We could see home price fall off even more. Guys, I'm not gonna keep reading this. This is crazy. Y'all just saw the trend that I did earlier in the beginning of this live. Inventory is at 0.4 month worth of inventory, not even a month, super low. Demand is still high. Prices just went up this last week, 2% on average. There's no inventory. Homes are getting sold within 10 days on average. This article might be another way of like what Ralph says, another media manipulation. Yeah, so like I thought I share that with you guys on top of all the data that we just went over today because because it's important to know data. A lot of you guys are probably asking the same questions, Chia, when is the market gonna crash? When is the market gonna crash? Is there a sign we need to look out for when it does crash so that we can start buying homes pennies on the dollar? One, look at the data. And if you guys are watching our weekly show, you guys are gonna know where the data is headed, and that is gonna give you guys an example of what type of market we're in. Right now, obviously, we're still in the seller's market. And two, if the market does correct itself, it's not going to be like in 08, 07, where prices went down almost in half the price. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be more like in 06, 07, where homes were on the market for so long, like 100 plus days, that the seller had to reduce the price in increments of like maybe 2%, 3% until it got sold. That's what's going to be the norm. That's what's always been the norm throughout history. Whatever happened in 07, 08 was because of a lot of fraud, like what Lisa was saying,
Yeah.
and because of bad mortgages that was being sold to people that was unqualified.
Yep.
And those people were the vast majority of the market during that time that foreclosed, that caused the market to shock. Okay,
Yes.
but then the moment those big banks got bailed out in the middle of 08, y'all saw from the trend. Let me share it again. You guys saw from the trend. You see how in the middle of 08, the market started, inventory started getting reduced from 11 months to 3.6 months. 3.6 months to 6 months is a average steady market.
Right.
Okay, that's where sellers could get their home sold, buyers could buy their homes, and there's no crazy people shooting each other down.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
we want in every market. But as you guys can see here, I'll finish this and I'll let you continue. Okay, so if you see here, like when the banks started getting bailed out, everything started getting stabilized again because of all the programs for first time home buyers, for buyers, there was incentives, all of
Yep.
that.
Yep. Can you show 09, 010 as well, just so that they can
Yeah.
see how long this lasted for? Because it lasted for a while. I would say it lasted maybe up to almost 2013.
Here's 09. It's loading. Months of inventory. Look, 2 months. From the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, from 4 months all the way down to 2 months worth of inventory. Started stabilizing.
Mm-hmm.
Average sold price. Look, it
So,
started going back up.
so now it's like a normal market. 2 to 3 months is a normal market.
Two
Can
to
we see
three
the
months is a
average?
normal market.
Can we see the average prices, Chia?
200,000. 212.
See, this is why it's important. You see how, like, even though it started going up, but the home prices didn't go up as quickly either. The average home prices didn't go up as quickly. And you want to see this because you want to see how long that last time lasted. People, even though they were buying, they were a little bit easier. But again, most of the people were still investors on this pool. People were still wary about buying. But if you have this data in front of you, it's so
Mm-hmm.
easy to say, then why didn't everybody jump in? Because
Right.
most people don't look at the data. Most realtors don't even look at data.
Yeah. Most people, you know what they do? They look at this.
Mm-hmm.
They look at this. They
Mm-hmm.
focus on the news to give them the data.
Yeah.
And you have to be wary of what the media says because remember who they're working for. Remember who's paying their
Right.
bills.
Right.
So you guys
Right.
gotta remember that, okay? You guys gotta make sure that you guys have somebody that is keeping you guys updated with the market, so that way you guys can look at the data and not be fooled. You know, because here's why data is so important. Let's say you're a buyer right now and you need to buy, and you saw that headline. what do most first time home buyers do when they see that kind of headline? They go and lowball every offer. And then they
Mm-hmm.
start wondering why their offer is not getting accepted. It's
Mm-hmm.
because somebody that is competing with you knows that the market is still demanding and they overbid still and get competitive. That's how they won the offer and you didn't because you went
Right.
with the media. So that's why this is so good to know. Let's look at the sold price. I mean, days on the market. Look, it went down. It started going down. It was like
Mm-hmm.
100 days. Now it's like 60 days. See, this is a steady market right here. On average, 60 days is okay. That's how long it's gonna take for a homeowner to get their home sold in a steady
Mm-hmm.
market versus today where it's 10 days.
Right. And if people don't get an offer on the first week, they're already freaking out.
Yeah, they're like because they're spoiled.
Yeah.
They're like, Chia, what the heck is going on with my home? Is it too
Mm-hmm.
ugly? Do I need to reduce the price? Like, what the heck is going on? You're okay. You know
Yep.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, don't just, I mean, look at this 60 days on average during '09. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go back to some comments. Um, Ancor, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. I'm sorry if I'm not, okay? Says Tacoma in Seattle is very high. Okay, so it's probably no different. Co-worker closed on a house in Tacoma 2 weeks ago for 900 square foot on a 1/3 acre for 500K. Oh man, that's a small home. Must be
Small home, but it's actually a
the
great
land.
deal in compared to California, by the
Oh
way.
yeah, some
It's
same thing like that in California
yeah.
is probably like 700K.
So California and New York right now is driving the market to other big cities too, because there are a lot of people that don't prefer to live in the suburbs or a less uh, city life. They continue to want the city life. They just don't want the city life pricing. So, a lot of people in the Silicon Valley are going to Seattle. They're
Not
going
just
to,
that.
yeah,
Not just
Boston. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the reason why those states are also coming up in real estate right now too is not just because of California and New York prices, but because of the pandemic. When the pandemic
Mm-hmm.
happened, people realized, oh shoot, I need my own house, and damn,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be close to people I don't know.
Yeah.
City, so they moved up to. That's why Tahoe prices went way up.
Yeah.
People went to remote country areas, like all of that, because they want to get away from the city because they could quarantine.
Yeah.
So that
Well,
had a lot to do with it too.
and people are also moving out, especially retirees
Hmm.
too, are moving out
Yeah,
to less income tax states.
exactly. Oh yeah,
Hmm.
we're not even gonna talk about taxes today. It's gonna be
Hmm.
another topic, but yeah, that is a big factor too. Pros and cons says they ran out of supply of homes. Of course, home sales are down. Yep. When there's not a lot of inventory, of course, home sales are gonna be down in data too.
Yeah.
Numbers don't lie. The media lie.
Well, it's
Take it with a
unfortunate,
big
but
grain of salt. Always do
exactly.
your own homework. Yeah, always do your
Yes.
own homework.
It just
What's
know that we just don't have a regulation that's strict enough to
Yeah.
mandate what the media puts out there. So be definitely very wary of what you read.
Hmm. Just like if you go on YouTube, there's disclaimers, right? Because it's for
Hmm.
entertainment purposes only. So you got to take that with a grain of salt too. It's just somebody's perspective. Kind of
Yeah.
like what I said earlier. I project next year everything might correct itself. I might be wrong. That's just my projection. I hope I'm not wrong because a lot of my buyers, they need to have a chance too in this market, you know. So that's just a projection. Pros and cons. This is for you, Lisa. What's the best way to avoid PMI with less than 20% down?
So it really depends. If your credit is great, pros. Okay, there are ways that you could do that. You could either take a little bit of a higher interest rate, and not have to deal with PMI. But I would really stress taking a look at it. Most of the time, when I'm doing this for my clients, if your credit is high, your PMI is really, really not that much to begin with. I just had this done with somebody that's purchasing a house for 600,000, and his PMI was only $80 a month. Okay, $80 a month, and eventually that will go away if he builds up enough equity. He can absolutely request for that to be taken off after he has the loan for 2 years, and that the equity is now up to 20%. it's less of a cost than if you have a higher interest rate, and that interest rate is going to be for the life of the loan. So when you are asking that, it has to make sense for your situation. So I'd say sit down with your loan officer and really take a look at the numbers in depth, not just on a monthly basis, but for as a whole. Okay. You can
Everybody's situation is different.
Yeah. The other thing is you can always buy a single premium mortgage insurance, so where you can put in $5,000, $10,000 in advance and not have PMI and have the lower interest rate. Sometimes that makes sense. Sometimes it doesn't. Okay. So the better your credit score is, the lower your mortgage insurance is going to be anyway. So when you take a look at all those numbers and all those figures and how long you're going to keep the house, that can determine how much money and where strategically you would save the most money to advise which route you would go.
There you go, pros and cons. Like your name, by the way. Hope that helps. Robert says, "What's up, y'all? Oh yeah, I picked up a sweet deal. Boom, thanks. Sweet deal. Tell us about your deal, Robert. We want to know too, so that way we can share with all the Chi fans. How sweet of a deal is it? I'll let you know if it's a sweet deal or not. I'm just playing. Did you buy it on the market or off the market? While we wait for you to respond. Caesar says, "Hi, is Turlock or Patterson a good choice to buy?" I would not be doing you justice if I told you yes or no, because I don't service in those areas, so I don't really know that market. I'm curious now though, like how far is that out?
Well, anywhere that you buy, Caesar, it's just going to be your preference. How far is it from your work? Is it a lifestyle that you would want? Is it in a school district that you will want for your kids if you have kids? And is it the lifestyle wherever you are? Is that the lifestyle that you want? And if it is, if all those answers are yes, then maybe it is, even though it might not seem that way to somebody else.
True. What I always like to say, Caesar, is don't compare your life with somebody else's life, because they might have totally different goals. They might just want to buy a home right now and rent it out after a year and be in an RV for the rest of their life and just have that as a rental.
Mm-hmm.
Or they might be a family that is never going to stop growing their family. So that's just a step up home so that they can get out from the tenant world and become a homeowner and upgrade from there.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's situation is different. So like I would say don't compare your first chapter with somebody else's 21st chapter. Very, very different. But yeah, I don't service in Patterson or Turlock, so I wouldn't know what to respond to that comment. So I apologize. What I would recommend you to do is that if you're interested in those areas, find a local professional in those areas and that you trust and interviewed already, and have them answer that question for you. That's the best way. Hope that helps. Pros and cons again. Love these comments, by the way, y'all. What loan amount for jumbo in Sac area?
So the loan limit in Sacramento County and Placer County is 598,000. So anything above that is going to be considered a jumbo loan. Jumbo loan interest rates start out at roughly about 3.5% right now. Okay. And you're going to have at least 1 year worth of reserves. So the guidelines for a jumbo loan is going to be a little bit more strict.
Is that FHA?
No.
Loan
Jumbo
limit?
is jumbo is like anything bigger than it's really what it's in its name. It's a jumbo loan. It's a huge loan.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for the area.
There you go. Where you planning on buying? Pros and cons that you need to know about jumbo. I'm just playing.
Hey, well, even in Elk Grove and
I
Natomas,
know.
there are brand
Yeah.
new builds that are like starting at 800. So there's
Well,
a
some
couple.
of those people are probably putting like
Yeah.
20% down to where the loan that they're borrowing is still below that, right?
Well, yeah, I had a client just recently, or who is purchasing a $750,000 home in Elk Grove, and he actually had to come in with a little bit more than 20%. Like I'm talking about 20.01% to make that 598 mark, so that he can get a better deal on the loan. Can he do the jumbo? Absolutely, but I'm just saying it's like, well, if you're going to put
He didn't
another
want
two.
that lifestyle.
Well, if you put in another $2,000, now your interest rate is, a half a point lower. Your monthly payment is less than $500 a month. You're like, oh yeah, that makes way more sense.
Always
Yeah,
consult and budget because you won't know until you actually go through the numbers.
yeah.
Numbers help. Okay, Robert says he bought in '08 for 189 and now it's
Whew,
about to start at 650K. See, you are a perfect example. You survived through that. You
good
bought during the right
job.
time and now you're selling, because it's really high again.
Yeah.
If you don't mind sharing, Robert, how much was your interest rate during that time when you bought your home? If it was fixed, how much was your interest rate? Thanks for sharing this, by the way. Caesar says thank you. Oh,
You're
you're
welcome.
welcome, Caesar. Oh, pros and cons is buying in El Dorado. Yeah,
Nice.
that's a nice area.
Mm-hmm.
That is a nice area. I have a client that just sold their home here in Natomas, and he went to El Dorado just to rent. Uh, and I told him, man, if you go to El Dorado, you're not gonna want to come back to Natomas, dude, when you're buying again. And he was like, no, I think I'll still buy Natomas. He was there for a whole week, and he's like, Chia, you're right. I don't think I'm coming back to Natomas.
Yeah. El Dorado is really, really nice.
hmm it's a different area for sure.
Yeah.
More luxurious. Nice come up. Yep, nice come up, Robert. When you buy new bills, sorry for being born in the late 90s. Glad it worked out for you. Oh, Robert's interest was 5%. Okay, credit. Did you ever refi before selling in today's market? Ralph says, sorry to be born in the late 90s, Rob. When you buy new builds, was that a question, Ralph? I know during that time in '08, I remember new builds were getting rid of their property. They were literally calling it pennies at the dollar.
Oh, they were. There were new builds that were going bankrupt.
Oh yeah, it was crazy because during that
Yeah.
time they were overbuilding.
Oh, for
That
sure.
brings that brings
Yeah.
up a good point that I forgot to
Yeah.
share. Today, the reason why new builds are coming out so slow and they're coming out in phases at a time is because of '08.
Well, they
They're
did
being
come out with
restricted
phases. They did come out with phases back then too. And when moved here from the Bay Area in 2004, 2005, we were looking in 2004, and we bought our home finished building in 2005. I could literally name all of the models of all of the builders in the area. Um, but each phase had probably about 50 homes at that time, whereas
Holy
now,
moly.
yeah,
That
as
was like
we're
4 or 5.
now, yeah, that's it. That's it. So, there
Part
was
of
a
it too is
difference.
because of permits. Permits. Okay, so
Yes.
right now, if you talk to like a builder, they're gonna tell you permits is the biggest issue right now, and
Yes.
they're being regulated because of '08. They don't want to allow them to build, and then there's not demands, so they're letting them build at a certain amount. But I hate that, right? I hate how they're being regulated like that because now we need more homes. Well, we need more inventory.
Yeah. It's
You
funny
know,
because now would be the time to do
yeah.
50 homes at a time, right? But
It doesn't make any sense why they wouldn't just allow it to build faster so that there'll be more inventory for all the buyers. Instead, they're coming out with $15,000 tax credits for first time home buyers
I know
to get
it's
more buyers to come in the market where we don't have enough buyers already
I mean, seriously, they should hire our leaders really should hire somebody that actually is in the real
in
estate
the
market
field.
that can compete, that can speak about this.
Yeah, it's crazy. Oh, um, oh yeah. So Robert did do a refi. Took a little bit out from the top. It's okay. You still cash. I'm pretty sure with that kind of equity.
Mhm.
Pros and cons says, how much does state workers affect the real estate market in SAC? They're all getting raises.
Well, State workers, the incentive to work in the state typically is because you're going to get a raise every 6 months. Many of my clients are state workers. I don't know if they really, I don't know if we can find data that can correlate to state workers versus the home prices, but right now,
Yeah.
though, the one that's skewing it the most is the Bay Area tech money that's coming on in.
Hmm. Yeah, it's kind of hard to say pros and cons. If it's state workers or not. Um, I doubt it because if it is state workers, they're part of the locals, and
Yeah.
locals right now are being butchered by out of state buyers, out
Yes.
of town buyers, hedge funds companies, big corporate hedge fund companies that have cash. Locals. I mean, you should not be worrying about your neighbor, locals, state worker. You should be worried about those guys because they're the one coming in here not caring about overbidding. They're buying everything cash.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the one you need to worry about. That's why average days on the market is 10 days.
Yep.
So
That's another
remember
one
that.
too. Hmm.
I hope that helps. Hope that answers your question, pros, cons. Ralph says, also, when you buy new builds, those developers enjoy economies of scale so they can build many at once and sell it. What about if you buy your own land to build your own home? Can it be cheaper? Depends.
Yeah. It
It
really, really
depends.
depends. If you know what you're doing and if you have architects, if you have people who are really savvy about getting you that permit quicker. I mean, I flip properties as well, so I have to get permits to do my thing as well. And it takes a really, really long time. The county, the cities,
Mhm.
they're all really, really super backlogged. So I can't imagine if you're starting from truly from scratch. When you're buying land, there's different types of land too, okay? There's land that hasn't been ever touched before. That's totally different because you're going to have to get plumbing, you're going to have to get sewer, you're going to have to get electrical to come out there, and you're going to have to get all of that drawn out first, okay, before it actually even goes to the next phase. So every single thing that you do, every single build that you do is a different type of permit. And if you don't have people in your arsenal that know how to do that for you, you're going to be going back to the
Scrambling.
county, to the city several times before they approve just one thing for you.
Yeah, and
And
another
that can
thing
be very
too,
costly.
Ralph, it can. It's time and
Yeah.
resources gonna be wasted if you don't know what
Yes.
you're doing. Ralph, I would also say depending on the county and the area that you're gonna be building onto, because some land, just because it's bare, doesn't mean you can only build one home. Some of those might say, I need you to build at least two homes on that lot because it's such a
Right.
big lot. I need you to actually build a town in that lot because it's so big. Or what you could do is if you only want to build one home, some might require you to split the lot into like maybe a couple $1,000. I mean, a couple thousand square foot per parcel. Then you could build on that one parcel. So
Right.
I had a client that was interested in doing this a while back, and we went through the process of that. And the county literally said that's a 10-acre lot. You cannot build one house on a 10-acre lot. You have to split it, meaning you have to have an engineer and architect come out there and zone it. And then when they split it, they have to split it to a minimum of 2 acres, meaning that each lot, each parcel has to be a minimum of 2 acres, meaning that you can only build a maximum of 5 homes on that 10-acre lot. My buyers, they didn't know that. They wanted to build only one home on that 10 acre, was not allowed. So you need to find all this out. It's super important. Go to the county, work with the contractor that has a team that develops because they're gonna already know people from the county. They're gonna know people that are contractors that can tell you how much it's gonna cost. They might even save you money because they buy all their inventory wholesale. So then the savings they pass it on to you versus you going to Home Depot buying everything at retail.
Yeah.
So talk to people. It's so important. Some people think it's better and cheaper to do it by themselves. Not if you don't know what you're doing. Okay,
Exactly.
so that's what I would recommend. And if you're planning on doing that, some land might not be financeable. So if you don't have deep pockets to cash it outright and build utilities on it, it might not be financeable, right, Lisa?
Oh yeah, definitely. And that's the thing too. Sometimes you hear people who buy these luxury properties and demolish the whole entire thing. It's like, why would you buy a multi-million dollar property, all these celebrities, and then just redo it? It's because sometimes, again, to get all of the lines in, the sewers, the water, all of that might be much, much, much more costlier than to build the house itself.
Yep. The permits and everything is what kills. Because what's
Mm,
underneath that ground? Is there really plumbing? If there's not, you gotta connect all of that to the city. Or
yeah,
do you need a well?
right. And depending on how far away you are too, and what is the
Oh
limitation
yeah.
on that to build. And even I have my home in Sonoma. We were thinking of redoing the sewer because it's so old. Just redoing that for one house that's not even 2,000 square feet, we got a quote for $80,000, you guys,
Hmm.
just for that, and it is existing.
Hope that helps, Ralph. Caesar says, "What would 100?" Okay, so I'm gonna go over this pretty quick, because we are over an hour already. I don't want to take too much of y'all time. So I'm gonna go over this real quick. Okay, so what would 100K combined income qualify you for the 559 and 770 credit score? With these credit scores, which loan would be best, FHA or conventional?
Okay, so quick answer, okay, because again, we are out of time. If you have a credit score of below 580, you're going to have to put at least 10% down on an FHA loan. Conventional only allows you to go as low as 620, and it's a significant difference. So if you'd like me to break that down for you, I'm more than happy to, Caesar. Just reach out to us and I'll show you the side by side.
Lisa's information is in the description box below this video. So if you guys want to text her, ask her these more personalized information about your scenario, text her. She'll be more than gladly to just run over that with you. Okay. So do that, Caesar. Hope that helps. Sorry, we're rushing a little bit. Uh, can you recommend a funding company that's because you're interested in land development? I would have you reach out to Lisa as well, Robert, and you guys could discuss. She'll know more about that. Are there parcels in Oak Grove and Sac? There are parcels everywhere, Ralph. You just gotta look. Have an agent look it up for you, or go on Zillow and just look up bare land, and then kind of go from there. Pretty
I
easy.
actually, I was actually looking at for myself too, Ralph. And if you go into Elk Grove luxury real estate, you'll see a couple of land in there too.
Hmm. It's public information.
Yeah,
And sellers that put their lots for sale, they want to sell.
yeah.
Where can we find these rules? It's a plan for the long term. Honestly, county is gonna
Hmm.
know more because it's always being regulated and it's always being updated. Like
Yes.
the thing about development is that there's always new things that comes up to code, and what was in code last year might be out of code this year.
So I'm going to share
So
you guys with my experiences as well, just for me to get my permit to build a additional dwelling for one of my houses. And I was really, really frustrated because I came down to the county more than 9 times, guys, because every single time I came down there, not only was it like the DMV where the line was like 3.5+ hours long, I learned after the third time that I was going to bring my own snacks and everything like that because it was just crazy ridiculous. Um, each of those 9 times, it took 9 times for somebody to say on board that, okay, everything is good to go. Every single time that I went back to the county to get my permit stamped so that I can move forward, they gave me a laundry list of more stuff. Oh, no, no, no. You didn't have to fix that. You're going to have to fix this. I was like, what? So they're not even up to date with their guidelines sometimes. So this is my experience from my inexperience. So I'm sharing this with you so that if you have people that you know that really knows that city well, and again, with your architecture, with your engineers, with your people that are in the area, make sure that they're local so they really do know the ordinance in the county that you're trying to build.
there you go. Um. Oh, Caesar says that his credit score is actually 669, not
Oh,
559. Yeah. Hmm.
then that's good. You definitely can do it with a 3.5% down. Um, and if you're putting that much down, you may want to consider conventional because typically the mortgage insurance is going to be less. Let's take a look at all of that for you to see.
And that is it, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us for the stream. We will be back again next week. If you guys have ideas or things you guys want us to cover next week, um, shoot a comment down below, or I'll put out a poll and just comment in the poll, and then we'll go from there. But thank you guys again. Have a good night. Enjoy your Thursday, and we will see you guys next week. Peace.
Peace.